Welcome to my channel about PTSD recovery. Today I will be giving you 5 tips on how to survive a PTSD storm. What I mean when I say PTSD storm is it's what I call when I'm in a really bad spot for an extended amount of time, 2 to 3 weeks, of very intrusive, unwanted behaviors and thought patterns. The most invasive symptoms that I notice during the bad times, during the storm, is swinging from panic to depression and a snap of the fingers, and then it goes back to panic. I'll have panic attacks several times throughout the day, and then in between the panic attacks, I'm beating myself up. I'm upset with what I'm not doing. I'm upset with who I am. It's very jostling to be in that spot. I will also experience multiple flashbacks in a short amount of time. It can be 3 a day up to countless a day, it seems like. And those flashbacks vary from hallucinations to emotional flashbacks to all sorts of mental breakdowns and hallucinations in my head, which can make functioning very, very difficult. The next symptom that is really hard, very difficult to deal with, is feeling like you're going insane, and the conversation you have to have with yourself of, should I go into the psych ward and turn myself in because I feel like I can't live life, I can't do what I need to do to get by, I can't function. The next thing that I usually notice is I'll get sick. Whether it's a cold, whether it's an actual infection inside my body that I need antibiotics for, whatever the case may be, I get some sort of illness during this time, usually in the middle of it. After a few days where I haven't been able to eat well, I haven't been able to sleep well. So that is it's just more stress. It's stress on top of stress at that point, and your body can't fight diseases like it should be. This next one is kind of hard to put into words, but it's like you're manic along with being exhausted. So your brain is running at full speed. It's giving you stressful thought after stressful thought. You need to be doing this. You should be doing this. This needs to be done. Why aren't you doing this? Why are you a piece of shit? And then during all of this, your body is just tired. Like, you can't get up out of the chair. And you get lost in these thoughts, and it's like you're staring at a wall, but the inside of your brain is like a brawl. There's just too many dialogues going on, too many thoughts going on, but you're paralyzed, and you can't move, and you can't act on what you want to do. And lastly, terrible sleep and night terrors. I mean, when it's night after night after night of taking hours to fall asleep because you're having a panic attack when you lie down, and then when you finally do fall asleep, you're waking up every hour to 2 hours because you're nervous, and then you wake up and there's too much stress already. You didn't have a good night's sleep. Your body was stressed throughout the entire sleep, didn't let you get any deep sleep whatsoever, and after days of this, it compounds the hallucinatory effect and all of the other psychological problems that you have going on, and it definitely, it's really rough going through these times. So hopefully these tips will help you Let me know if they do. Let me know if they don't. Let me know if you have your own tips at the end, if you'd like to. But let's go. The first tip I have is practice laughing every day. And what I mean by that is set aside time specifically for making yourself laugh. Whether that's watching stand-up comedy, listening to a funny podcast, watching a funny TV show, whatever it is that gets your sense of humor going, make time for it during the day. And the more you practice smiling and laughing and making yourself feel good, the more it will come naturally. You're training yourself. You're literally training your face to smile more. That's a good tip for just every day, though, too, is to try to set a time to laugh. But it's especially important when you are stuck in the grime of things to try to pull yourself out. And laughter can do that sometimes. Sometimes it's able to pull yourself out, get a fresher breath air, and less intensity to kind of recover a bit and give yourself some time. My second tip is to write down the thoughts that are bothering you. So write down the things that are spinning in your head and won't stop harassing you, pretty much. The first type of writing that I suggest, or that helps me out some, is writing out lists. To-do list, worry list, things that you're grateful for, make that into a list. Chores, household duties that you have to do, just write everything out. Write out goals, write out whatever you need to in order for life to kind of get back into the swing of things. The next type of writing exercise that I like to do is to let my thoughts battle it out on paper versus in my head. So when the voices are going real bad and there's flashbacks and there's negative talk, there's monologues, and it seems like chaos, it can help to write what's going on in your head on paper. Write out what they're saying, write out what you're feeling, write out the memories that keep bothering you. Let your head kind of fight on paper versus being stuck in your head, because when it's in your head, it just repeats itself. And writing it out sometimes can help it stop repeating itself. The last exercise for writing that I have is to write an angry letter, then burn it or keep it. I have done this a few times and it's helped tremendously, especially since I'm terrible at expressing anger. I tend to repress that pretty hard right away. So if I'm getting triggered by my anger by somebody else that's making me angry at them, writing it down and just getting it out of my head helps tremendously. My next tip is to make sure you're keeping up on your food health, what you're eating, how much you're eating, that sort of thing. I know when I'm going through really tough times, my stomach does not want food. I have functional dyspepsia. It causes me to feel full most of the time, and that's during a storm or not during a storm. Hopefully you only get this during a bad time, because I hear a lot of PTSD survivors say that they have trouble eating or they have trouble eating too much. And I think it's the same thing. Something about trauma really messes up with your gut. So one thing that I do during the real bad times is I get protein shakes. And I will get fruit and vegetables, and I'll snack on spring peas, I'll snack on nuts during the day, and then I'll have my protein shakes. Now, I'm not a model at this at all. I have my horrible days where I can't eat. And even with reminders from my husband, I still can't eat. There's no way to be perfect at recovery. But a little step towards better is just get some protein shakes when you can't eat. When your belly is squeezing up and tightening up and being like, no, you gotta force some nutrition down there so your brain can have some nutrition and some bounce back from all the other things that you're experiencing. Number 4, a little analyzing. And what I mean by a little analyzing is you want to be able to look at what's going on and be able to tell if you're being triggered by a situation, by a person, by an event. I've been triggered by news. I mean, there's all sorts of different triggers out there. So taking a step back and being like, what trauma is getting tickled by a trigger right now? What in my life do I have to allow time to mourn and time to feel bad about? Because it's obviously still in my body. I repressed the emotion and now it's going haywire in my body. So figuring out the source of it can help. A little analyzing. What I mean by that is don't over analyze yourself to death, because that can turn into all sorts of compulsive thinking disorders. And you probably have some compulsive thinking disorder, because I do too. I'm pretty sure that's part of the PTSD, is to think things repeatedly for whatever reason, or to overanalyze, to search for meaning inside of meaning inside of meaning. And what can happen if you fall into that is it's like a rabbit hole of, at first it was all right because you were getting some answers, but before you know it, you're re-traumatizing yourself because you're thinking about this all day. You're going to sleep thinking about it. Then you're waking up thinking about it. And you don't want to replace, one panic attack for just days of thinking about why you do. My last and final tip, number 5. Reach out for help and go to your appointments, your therapy appointments, your psychiatry appointments, whatever appointments you have. Don't get in a habit of canceling them when you're feeling bad, because that's really when you need them most. Canceling out on friends is understandable, but you still need a person, whether it be a spouse, a family member, somebody in your life that you trust and that you can talk to reach out during these PTSD storms and be like, hey, I'm having a really hard time. Would you be open to talking to me about it? And I know how intimidating it is to start a conversation like that. I know that resistance. I know about the voice in your head that goes, don't tell anybody about this. You didn't go through anything wrong. You're stupid. And it calls you names and it tells you to keep it all to yourself. But that voice is wrong. It's just straight out wrong. You need help. Everybody needs help. And the thing is, if you reach out to your loved ones when you need help, it's going to make them more likely to reach out to you when they need help. And cultivating those sorts of trusting relationships and knowing how to deal with social interactions, especially during the hard times, with people that you love, it's very important. Because the people you love, if they don't know what's going on, if they don't know why you won't talk to them or what's happening, they can get hurt indirectly. So being honest, being open, you don't have to share your secrets with everyone. Just being comfortable enough to be like, hey, my mental state isn't very good right now. And then having only the closest relationships to vent to talk about those feelings with. So there's my tips and tricks for getting through the PTSD storms. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you thought it was helpful, if you got some good tips from it. I'll be making another video soon about triggers and the different types of triggers and what we can do about those. In the meantime, I hope you're having an awesome end of the summer. I already said that. Ha. Have a good one.